Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And we're back. This is America's Heroes Group Roundtable Community Outreach. Today is Saturday, August 6, 2022. August is National Wellness Month. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Arnold Productions. And we have a significant and wonderful panelist today, Mr. Darren Jeffrey. He is a founding board member of the Rick Herrema Foundation and also the original course creator builder for the TV show American Ninja Warrior on NBC. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I want to learn more about the Rick Herrema Foundation and also the competition you have in Fayetteville, North Carolina, coming up near Fort Bragg.
Absolutely. So you prefaced on my bio, my background is the course creator for American Ninja Warrior right when it came to America. And I've also, for many years, I've been a civilian trainer for the special operations community, and I've had the opportunity to meet lots of wonderful families and folks along the way there. And about 8 years ago, we were doing a class on Maui. I was teaching a class in Maui with some guys, and we really hit it off. It was a really, kind of almost a bromance. And within about a week, they had invited me back east to North Carolina, where I was able to meet with some of the families, taught a couple of classes. I'm an old rock climber, so that's kind of my background. Doing the rock climbing thing and so on, and the kids went to bed. I was at one of the guys' house. His name is Josh. He's more about Josh later, but Josh invited me over to meet his wife and kids, and so I'm having dinner with them. The kids go to bed, and they roll out this map for 21 acres in Fayetteville, North Carolina, about 4 minutes away from the front gate of Fort Bragg, and they said to me, Darren, they've been moved, they've been touched to create some type of a nonprofit situation that could create resiliency in the families that deal with routine combat deployment stress. And I immediately said, absolutely, what can we do? And so we started really grinding away on what we could do with 21 acres, 4 minutes from from Fort Bragg. And so rolling the clock forward, that was about 8 years ago. I think we're about 8.5 years old, I believe. And Josh asked me to be a board member, and I said, well, and I have a business background, and I said, well, do you have federal? He said, we have our state approval. I said, do you have federal 501c3 approval? He said, no. I said, well, when you get that, call me, and then we'll pick up this conversation. Roll the clock forward. Josh deploys overseas. He's working, doing a lot of heavy lifting, and manages to get our federal approval within 4 months while on deployment. Wow. And normally that's an 18-month process to get that type of approval. So he pulls it off in 4 months, calls me while being deployed, says, hey, would you mind being on the board? And I became the first board member for the Rick Herrema Foundation. And so, but we still didn't have a direction or a mission. And what we ultimately decided, roll the clock forward to what we are today. Now we're 55 acres. We're still right outside of Fort Bragg. We run programs, quality programs that are free for military families and veterans. Programs like gardening, horseback riding. We have tree houses. We have cooking classes. We do an arts class, Messy Monday, for the families. I bring the Ninja Warrior course out once a year, and the foundation, we host a giant Ninja Warrior competition right on the property, and just so on and on and on. We have bands out there. There's, families are using the property when for reintegration. When somebody comes home from deployment, and instead of meeting at home, a lot of times they're meeting out at Rick's place. So we just have a park-like campus out there that's designed to, connect families and to create resiliency within those families.
You can tell us who Rick Herrema was. Who was Rick Herrema?
Sure. Josh. So Josh is, again, that name's going to keep coming up. Josh, him and Rick, they served together. They were in Ranger School together, and became best friends, and then they went off into their careers and ended up ironically ended up back in a special forces team together, and ended up deploying together and on a mission in 2006. Rick got shot, and Josh was the medic on scene, and it was a real hard day, real bad day at work for everybody, essentially. But that was years later, that was Josh's best friend, and he was very moved by the event. And obviously, when we started talking about honoring his friend a few years later with a foundation, and the goal with Rick is that Rick would want families to not be stressed. Rick would want the families to feel connected, even though they're moving a lot or they may not have a lot of friends in the town that they're in. He would want to create a way for these families to unite with one another, and so that's essentially what the mission was that we scrubbed down, and we've carried forward. So
Rick's place is about 5 miles or so outside of, about 4 or 5 minutes outside of Fort Bragg. Is it multiple obstacle courses, or is it just one main obstacle course? How is it constructed?
Oh, I see. So the Ninja Warrior competition in particular. So what we do is I come out there, me and a team of folks that have been building television show, Ninja Warrior, Beastmasters, Titan Games, a couple of my really close guys. We go out there and we actually construct the course. So we're going to start construction on it. It doesn't stay up year round. It's just it's an event that we bring to the foundation, or that the foundation brings to the community, essentially. And so we build it, and then we run a couple of weeks of competitions where units on base come out and compete, and we have some fun prizes, and so on.
Wow. How long does it take to build an obstacle course, and what makes a good obstacle course? And my favorite thing in the military, when I was going through the military, was obstacle course. That was like the day you got psyched for me. I loved obstacle courses. So this saying obstacle course to me is like, that you got me at hello. So what goes into a good obstacle course?
So a good obstacle course is going to challenge the mind, not the body. Right off the bat, as the course creator for American Ninja Warrior for several years, we would design that course right in our warehouse, and then, we would adjust things, just tiny little adjustments to make them a little bit harder or maybe a little more intimidating, and really trying to get into the psyche of the athlete. So a good obstacle course can get into your head, and it's not so much about your body.
Wow, I never thought about that.
One of the things that I noticed when we would do the finals in Las Vegas for the television show, we would have about 110 finalists that would all show up on night one, and they would all line up, and the big reveal, and here's our athletes, and let's see how they do against the course. And when you look at the bodies, they're all about the same. The physique. So this really is no longer a competition. The ninja competitions are no longer really about physique. It's more about mentality, mental strength, and confidence, essentially.
What's the craziest thing you ever put on an obstacle course?
Oh, well, we had some electrical cords. We've done a lot of prototypes that never made it on television. So a lot of our prototypes in the research and development stuff, we had obstacles that would start to shock you if you hung on too long.
Wow.
Or one of my favorites was the magnets, the electronic magnets. And so you're climbing these handholds, and if you're staying on them too long, boom, the handhold just starts falling off like a bad dream. You're just losing your handhold. So that was certainly very intimidating. But our thing too is that when we build these obstacle courses, they have to be safe, and so we have to really focus on perceived level of risk versus actual risk. And being able to design an obstacle or a series of obstacles that really appears, intimidating, but in reality is you can't get hurt on it, kind of thing. So it really is quite an art to be able to do that. It's been an honor.
So you started out fighting fires. you're a forest fighter or firefighter in the forest over in California. That's a hard job.
Yes. Yeah, I did 10 years, all in the 90s. That's when I did most of my rock climbing, and that's when I fought a lot of forest fires throughout that decade with the Forest Service. Ended up on a hot shot crew, lots of helicopter work, seeing the big mountains blowing up, and hopeless days of work, and everything just kind of gets blown up the next day, and you work again all night. You see communities falling apart, but ironically too, I think you see communities come together. It's really interesting to see how the human spirit rallies when those crises come together. It really gives you hope. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you think, oh man, people are crazy and blah blah blah, but when you see these types of events come together, the true nature of most people is to be helpful and friendly, and so you really see it in those types of crises.
Yeah, and also you see that a lot, I'm sure, in your obstacle courses when people come out and do these events, especially at Rick's place. Just having some time to just kind of catch your breath and kind of decompress and do something fun with your family, I think is a really, really important thing, and sometimes we just take that for granted. We get so busy in our schedules that we don't really take the time to go out and just see nature and do something challenging and do something that's not necessarily impossible but hard to do that's fun, with your mind and your body, like you're saying. So how long does it take to put when you put the contraptions up and your rigs up, how long does it take to do that?
So we're out there about a week and a half early. So like right now, we get out there end of August. We show up and we start building for about 10 days. But like right now, our fundraising committee is pedal to the metal right now with fundraising, because this is one of our biggest fundraisers for the foundation is the Ninja Warrior competition. So we have a really fun sponsorship package, and we offer a lot of interesting opportunities for our sponsors to get involved. And this is, as the course creator for American Ninja Warrior and the founder of the ATS team, which is the company responsible for all of that work, as the original founder for 20 years, this is an event that I don't do this other places. You can't touch my work somewhere else. It's if you want to touch Darren Jeffrey's obstacle course creations, it's at the Rick Herrema Foundation and on our Ninja Warrior course. And so, our sponsors really enjoy, having the opportunity to have a Ninja Warrior course that they can get behind.
So let me ask you this as well. So this is something I've always been curious about. So when you build these obstacle courses and say someone does get hurt, what happens? Like, what do you do?
Well, I mean, lots of fun jokes come to mind. Like, that we always dig a few pits off to the side, and we got a couple bags of lime and a shovel ready to go. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. So we haven't had any injuries. We've never had anybody get hurt to the point where they had to, be taken away in an ambulance. We've never really experienced anything like that. It's testament to the engineering that goes into these obstacles. Like, it's really easy to say, oh, well, we can make an obstacle, we can hang some rings, or we can hang some tubes or some pieces of chain. But when you look at the chain, you think, oh, someone's finger could get caught in that link, so maybe we better not use raw chain. And so we have to engineer clear tubing that goes over the chain, but so on television, it looks like it's chain, but it might not actually be, what you see, because, the safety is really in the details there. So we really haven't had any problems at all with safety, of course, knock on wood.
So how do we get in touch with you guys? Give us the information for your website so people can, across the country, can come out. I mean, travel. It sounds like something you can do as a destination vacation. Well, it sounds like to me.
Yes. Yep. So you'll have to get on our website, is rhfnow.org, and you'll find the ninja stuff, and you'll need to be either a retired military or active duty with your family, and you would be able to register to compete in the competition. We have a few open enrollment days, not too many. A lot of these end up going back to specific units. We keep the course up for about 2 weeks, and most of our blocks of time get dedicated right back to active duty units on Bragg, as team building with them and then their families, that on the weekend. So get on our website. If you would like to sponsor this event or help sponsor the event, we're still actively looking for sponsors. We've been doing it now. This is our 5th year in a row. It's always successful. But we are at that time where we're looking for sponsors and donors to support the foundation. And then if you want to participate as a contestant, get on rhfnow.org, look at the Ninja, look for the Ninja page, and you'll be able to register, and we'll get you a time block. And then I'll meet you personally when you get out there. I'll see you.
Wow.
I'll be there.
That's cool. Get an autograph.
Yeah.
That's a celebrity, man.
Absolutely.
So would you ever put these on, or broadcast these, say, on Facebook or YouTube or something like that, some of these competitions?
So we've gone round and round with that because there's a level of privacy that we try to bring to our property where people aren't on camera. A lot of these folks ought not be on camera, and so we've had a hard time, photographing and building our videos. We do have some fun videos, but we've got to get the backs of everybody's heads, basically. We have to respect the privacy of these families.
Yeah, and imagine with kids too as well. You probably have to be a little bit careful with that, having kids on
Absolutely.
site,
so right, and so we're really we haven't done that kind of outward explosion that you would normally see a foundation do with social media and advertising because of that fact. We're really more, we can reach the families by reaching the units on base. And the unit commanders and the base commanders, they get to talk to those groups about RHF's opportunities. And so, our marketing is definitely a lot more, I don't want to say word of mouth, but I guess that's probably the closest thing to it.
Okay.
And we're also, we're in expansion mode here. We have plans to get out of North Carolina and to have other properties outside of other bases that have routine combat deployment. And, we'll find families there that I think, we all think could definitely benefit from having some acreage and a campus park-like setting that they could just come out to anytime. It's not associated with work. And anytime they're on the property, they see other families. They know those families are, like-kind families doing this, dealing with the same types of things, So
do you still mountain climb?
Really awesome.
Yeah.
Say again?
You still do mountain climbing?
I do. Yeah, I climb. I'm a canyoneering pioneer for the sport of canyoneering, and I do quite a bit of rock climbing still.
Yeah. So how much of that filters into your schemes when you build these rigs and stuff?
So most people who have watched Ninja Warrior on television, they'll all pretty much agree that the rock climbers typically, get the furthest into the course. They tend to do the best. And back to that confidence that we were talking about. You can take a normal athlete or take one version of an athlete that maybe plays ball, one of the ball-based sports. They're on a perfectly manicured court. The lines are painted perfectly. Everything's regulation, and that's the sport. Mm-hmm. And the athleticism behind the sport is confined to the court, the precisely measured court. So a rock climber's court is kind of absolutely the opposite. There are no rules to the court. It is wit, it's courage, it's confidence, it's strength, it's athleticism, it's teamwork. It's a lot of the same buzzwords that you see in organized sports. And so when we see basketball players and hockey players and football players, when we see them try the ninja course, they don't do so well. And they could take a lesson from the ninjas, by the way, wow. in human performance. When we see the climbers and the martial artists and the dancers get on the Ninja Warrior course, we see movement, we see confidence, we see success. And this is kind of that's kind of one of my fun rants about human performance. And, you got the different genres of athletes or different athletes with, different backgrounds that just they just don't do well on the ninja course.
So how would you say, like, military guys? I noticed one thing, too, watching shows like that. When you watch reality TV shows, a lot of times people in the military would get on there, and I'm thinking, okay, these guys are knock it out the park. And sometimes they underperform for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because of the MOS they had or whatever, but I noticed that. How do military people perform on your obstacle courses compared to what they do every day in training?
Phenomenal, and it's funny because the military, and I've researched this up one side and down the other, the military is the only profession on earth that uses an obstacle course at work.
Mm-hmm. I love
There's no other profession out there that's got a bunch of telephone poles sunk in the ground, and a bunch of sand pits and pools of mud. It doesn't exist. I've seen it all over the world.
That was the most fun.
Ninja Warrior all over the world.
I miss it. I don't know if I can still do it today, but I miss it.
Of course not.
I miss it, man.
Right. So the ninja course for RHF to have the ninja course, it's really a cool pairing of my background, and which I'm non-military, I'm a civilian, but I'm a trainer for the community, for climbing and so on. But as the Ninja Warrior guy coming in, it's like, wow, we are literally bringing the coolest obstacle course on planet Earth to the one group that really gets it. Like, obstacle courses are in the military culture, period. So what can we do to just blow that up? So the good news is RHF has the Ninja Warrior course, but we also have some upcoming programs that are in the pipeline where RHF can bring the Ninja Warrior course to other communities, to other locations where we can get the money worked out, create the fundraising element. We bring a turnkey Ninja Warrior event to your location. And it's not a low key thing. It's a high profile. It's 10 days of building. It's tens of thousands of dollars to set up. It's an operation to run, but we've got all the pieces and the formula. So, RHF Ninja Warrior is definitely in a position to come to Chicago and get out on the streets, and we can create a huge participant event. But we can also, that night, we can bring in top ninjas, and we can create a spectator event as well, like you would see on the show, but it would be live.
Wow.
So,
that'll be
and
cool.
all of that gets pointed towards the fundraising elements and the nonprofits that we all are working with.
I want to see a Ninja Warrior type RHF rig built in Bear Stadium, man. That'll be cool. Soldier Field.
Perfect.
We got to do it. We got to work on that.
Easy to do.
We got to work on that, man. We got to start that.
Absolutely. You betcha. Yeah. In fact, now that we've said that, I think people are going to hear that and they're going to hold our feet to the fire. So let's get after it.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So what's the coolest thing that you've seen? Like, as far, I know this is personal to you. It's something that you really care about. For you, from a personal standpoint, how has your life changed doing this type of thing, this type of work for people, particularly service members and veterans?
I mean, this is such a broad, wow. I don't have a family. My career, doing what I did, my career moved very quickly. I didn't get a chance to, have that experience. I've never been enlisted. The closest is, being on the hot shot crew and deploying and dealing with that kind of routine deployment. Getting to meet these teams and getting to meet their families. A lot of these are our tier one teams. And it's been an honor to just meet guys and gals who've got just so much talent, just unbelievable amounts of talent, and getting to call them friends. That's everything else becomes a memory. You go out and you do something. I've done so many crazy shows all over the world and stunts and world records, but it's the friends that you make along the way that you get to come back to time after time after time after time. my fiance and I are getting married October 8th this year here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we've been sending out the invitation list, and it's just been a blast through memory lane, looking at all the people that I've gotten to invite that are people that I met along the way.
Wow. Congratulations.
And that, to me, that's probably the best answer I could give you.
That sounds phenomenal. Congratulations on your wedding, upcoming wedding.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So what's your advice to people that want to start a big project? It seems like you've been on a whirlwind, career, starting from fighting fires, and then you started a company, and then you sold a company, and then now you have this foundation you're working with and things like that. What's your advice for people that want to be where you're at? If they want to start something that's profound, they have an idea, maybe don't know how to develop it, what would you say?
The best piece of advice that was given to me early on was Darren Jeffrey is the only one that's ever limited Darren Jeffrey.
So don't get away with yourself.
I would say look at yourself in the mirror and say your first and last name and say that you're the only one that's ever limited you.
Wow.
And then get after it. Keep the faith, stay the course, get after it. If you're discouraged, that's you being discouraged. That's you getting in your own way. Get after it.
Wow.
I'm a high school dropout. I quit. I left home at 15. I had beautiful parents. I love my mom will actually be at the wedding. They're beautiful people. But I just needed to get after it. There was too much adventure sitting around every stinking corner in life that it just had to happen. I left the Forest Service and started a rock climbing school in 1999, and that turned into a Hollywood rigging company, which is known today as ATS, or the ATS team. I sold that 3 years ago to my partner, who tragically passed away of leukemia about 2 months later. God love him. I miss the guy, but the company roars on, and these are old friends of mine and that were employees that are now carrying the torch forward. So, build relationships, be the kind of person you want to meet, and know that if you're discouraged, it's only you who are discouraged. Get out of your own way and get after it.
I like that, man. I like that a lot. Get after it. We're going to get after this new rigging gig. We have to put one together in, like I said, in Bear Stadium. Let's get it in Soldier Field. We got to do it. Let's get it done.
Easy to do.
Let's get it done.
Let's talk to the governor. We'll talk to the Board of Tourism. Let's talk to the governor. We'll staple a couple of good causes to the event. We'll get the Board of Tourism involved. We'll get heads in beds, and we'll put on one heck of an event.
And welcome to America's Heroes Group, Darren, panelist, and also a great and wonderful guy we just talked to, Darren Jeffrey, founding board member of RHF, and also the original course creator builder for the TV show American Ninja Warrior on NBC. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.